Mass shootings in California are off to a bad start this year, as we heard just a day after the Monterey Park shooting down here in the Los Angeles area. Up here in Half Moon Bay near San Francisco, another mass shooter there is taken into custody by police in this parking lot. It must have been very dangerous. It looks like even detectives are the ones that took him in. Here's a couple of details before we go to more about this. Authorities are working to figure out why this 67-year-old man, the one a couple days ago over the weekend was 73, I believe. 67-year-old man may have killed 7 people in a small coastal city near San Francisco, as he pointed out. The third mass shooting to stun California in as many days, and one that's left another Asian community reeling. Just a couple hours after the suspect in Monday's attacks at Half Moon Bay, Chunli Zhao was taken into custody while parked at a sheriff's substation with a semi-automatic handgun in his vehicle. Someone else was killed and 7 people injured in a spray of bullets along the road in Oakland. The San Mateo Sheriff and Oakland police said all this. He was taken in after 2 hours after gunfire was reported. They're still trying to figure out why the hell he did this. The shooter down here in Los Angeles area killed himself, so they're still looking for those motives. I assume we'll find some motives from this guy a little bit more. But here's details that, again, there's some parallels that are pretty eerie here. They said, we do know that some of the victims were Chinese, that the perpetrator was Chinese, and that that this was an agricultural community. They were agricultural workers. That's what the mayor said. Also, both sites are plant nurseries in a rural area. And Zhao is believed to be a worker at one of these locations. And the victims, who are still being identified, are also believed to be farm workers. The town is about a 40-minute drive from San Francisco, as we pointed out. Of course, authorities are on this. Politicians are talking about it. As a matter of fact, Joe Biden was talking about it and asking for, as you can imagine, some more gun control. He offered prayers and thoughts and all those folks that are killed. But then, of course, bringing up the, hey, we still got these guns everywhere. Hey, we still don't know who's going to be driving by the next site of wherever they're upset about or where they've been before, and start shooting up folks there too. There was another report about the shooter down here in Monterey Park, that he had apparently met someone before in his past at that same dance hall that he shot up. So there's always some level of connection, whether or not it makes sense or not for that particular situation. But since we're talking about politicians, Brett, before I let you jump in here, because this was asked over the weekend after the Los Angeles area shooting was going down, Republican politician Michael McCall, he was asked about it. And again, I want you guys to remember, this was in San Francisco area, in Los Angeles area. But listen to what he talks about when asked about our gun issue in America.
In your home state of Texas, there have been a lot of mass shootings. Uvalde, Sutherland Springs, El Paso, Santa Fe. You voted no on bipartisan gun legislation last summer that got a pretty big bipartisan vote. It was pretty incremental also. Would you support any gun control measures in this Congress?
You know, Chicago has probably some of the strictest gun laws in the nation, yet the highest murder rate. We're seeing this movie way too many times.
Yeah, we are.
And it's absolutely tragic.
Yeah. What about a red flag law? Federal red flag.
Well, in a way, what I'm talking about are red flags, and every one of these. But you know, Chicago, Illinois has red flag law.
I know. Well, you keep bringing up Chicago, which I understand, but the guns in Chicago come in from other places because there are a patchwork of laws across the country. There's no federal law.
Right.
Chicago, 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 Chicago. Also, did you hear that? One point, Brett, he goes, we're seeing this way too much. And then he stopped talking about it. If you're seeing something way too much, do you offer a next sentence about why you don't want to see it anymore? How are you going to make sure you don't see it anymore? If your kid is climbing on the counters trying to get into the cookie drawer at the top, yeah, my kid does that. Then do you then say, hey, this has to stop, kid? And you walk away? You do something about it, but we're not doing anything about it. But there's a lot here to chew on, Brett.
Yeah, it's like, and that guy's acting like a kid. That's my favorite kind of contributor on CNN. He's just really excited that he got the call to be there, and it's his time to rehash the same damn talking points that the right has cultivated and had a lot of opportunities to cultivate because of how frequently something like this happens. So they call someone into CNN, and he's not that good at it. And you can see him, he's acting like a child. The way a child is like, you say, what do you say? And the kid goes, thank you. And Dana Bash is like, sorry for what? And he's just trying to figure out the fewest words he can say in this, like, I'm apologizing talking point before she'll be satisfied and move on without really understanding, or at least pretending not to understand, the reason why he's called to apologize for his actions in the first place. I mean, just nuts and bolts of all this. There was a time back in the 90s, as much as people on the right want to pretend that like they're coming for your guns and it won't do anything but make you less safe. After Columbine, assault rifles were outlawed in America. In the wake of that, there was a precipitous drop in, get this, murder by assault rifle. Crazy. And then under the Bush administration, they let it lapse. And guess what? There was a huge spike in murders by assault rifle. This isn't very complicated. This isn't very difficult. So why are they still fighting against it? The answer is money from people like the NRA, who pour millions and millions of dollars into their coffers, so they just choke down all of the murders by guns in America.
And again, these folks were farm workers. Other folks at the shooting down in LA area were older patrons at this dance hall. How much do they feel the rest of the country, or even local points here, care about these folks? They're like, hey, sure, fine, whatever. And before we move on, one thing I want to be able to play every time. During that whole fight with Speaker McCarthy, who's now Speaker McCarthy, and Matt Gaetz was holding the whole thing up, one of the things he had to complain about McCarthy was that he's in bed with lobbyists. He brings in lobbyists go and influence politicians. Politicians do what they say based off of the money they're given so they can keep their jobs. The one true statement that, well, he's had a few true statements that Gaetz did say during that whole thing. Through those concessions, keep paying attention. I said it 3 other times. Keep paying attention. See if those things are what was agreed upon, was the concessions that McCarthy made. See if they start working away at those lobbyists and the influence that they have over politicians, because that is the result of what McCall was doing right there. As much as Gaetz is standing on that pedestal about, look how I held him into account, is he holding him to account on that line that he gave? No, there's still an agreement on all that. Yes, Democrats and Republicans are. This is why, another one of the reasons why we're continuing to have legislators who are supposed to be legislating and creating laws to protect folks. They're not doing it.